In the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king, or so they say. How deep. Where that leaves a lad from Sheffield with a lopsided haircut is anyone's guess. His group are at number 5.
Oh God, the Human League were magnificent. I mean, there's no doubt about it.
I used to go around Sheffield and I'd have 15 people following me down the street, and it was scary and things. We have lived through all those sort of things, you know, being escorted out of the back of shops because like 500 fans have come in after you and things like that.
We were sort of lucky that we had quite a good-looking group, I think.
Bing, electronics, fantastic, this is great, let me play with your toys, boys.
Yes, the Human League were a bleeping boy band and didn't grow up until they discovered girls, and 2 original members left to form their own gang, Heaven 17.
When Martin Ware and Ian Craig Marsh left the Human League, you put your money on Martin and Ian. You didn't put your money on Phil.
We'd got a tour scheduled when we split up with Martin and Ian, and both sides would have been sued, probably, out of the business if we hadn't completed the tour. So we were just desperate.
Desperate enough to trawl the Sheffield nightclubs and find 2 schoolgirls without any musical experience. Later on, Phil would have affairs with both. For now, things were more innocent.
I remember when Sound of the Crowd went into the charts. We weren't expecting it to be a big hit record. And I was in school, and Joanne were in school, and Susan's mum there at the door, knocked on. She said, "Excuse me, I've got to take our Susan out of school because she's on Top of the Pops tomorrow." And then she went and did exactly the same and got Joanne out of school. And it was like, oh, great. Another excuse to get out of lessons.
The League's first hit was also their first collaboration with producer Martin Rushent.
It just clicked with Martin. He understood us. He was also very diplomatic because we're fairly prickly characters in those days.
He was a massive part of the team. He was like the other member of the group. If he hadn't have been there, you know, Dare wouldn't have been made. It wouldn't have been the record.
I can honestly say that it was the most exciting creative period of my life, either before or since. But this, it just seemed to be flowing. Phil had written da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. I went, end's a bit lame, innit? I went, da-da, do something like that. That's it. Oh, that's all right, yeah, great.
The Dare album sold 5 million copies and launched one of the biggest hits of the 80s.
Managing director of Virgin, Simon, came up and said, "I want to put Don't You Want Me out," and we're going, "No, you can't do this, you can't do this." Don't you want me? Simon Draper at that time said, "No, I'm absolutely right about this, I'm sure about it." And we said, "No, it could be the end of our careers, people will hate us."
I just stole it out of a story in a magazine. I read a trashy magazine, had a little story with almost those lines first. I wrote them down. You better change it back or we will both be sorry. Don't you want me, baby? Don't you want me?
Oh. After Dare came out, all the people in the band that wrote suddenly believed that everything that they wrote was the best thing since sliced bread.
I was getting very depressed and very stressed out over all these issues. I just stood up and I said, "I'm terribly sorry, I can't do this anymore," and walked out. That was it.
The last track Rushent worked on was a hit, but after that, nothing from the second album made the top 10.
Passion burning, love so strong. Keep feeling fascination, looking burning, moving on.
you don't really get shocked when things go wrong because they always take a little while to go wrong. It's like going to be even 6 weeks with one single, and you think, oh, the next single will do all right, or, you know, and you can't quite believe that people have already turned to something else.
So by the time we'd made Hysteria, no one had really got any material, and when we started to make Crash, we got no songs.
As a last resort, the League were teamed up with legendary R&B producers Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. They delivered a US #1.
I'm only human, of flesh and blood, I'm made.
If it hadn't have been for them, I wouldn't have been sat here talking to you now, because I think we'd have just died a death.
You can't really fault Jam and Lewis, can you, for the songs? You know, they're just there. They play you something and you go, wow, do you really want to give this to us?
We're like cats, we've got 9 lives, and every time we fall down, we land on our feet, and, you know, one day we're going to run out of lives. Don't know when that's going to be.
There's no denying it. The moment you think that's it for the League, they regroup and bounce back with yet another hit.
Will I see you again? Will I see you again? Will I see you again? Na, 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 na.
I should think the most important thing is that the Human League always showed that men and women could just work together equally, and that, you know, it wasn't a man's business anymore.
There's no point in living if you've not got a dream, and I've still got dreams for this group, so I'm never going to stop dreaming.
Is there anyone in England who hasn't heard of Don't You Want Me and can sing it? I don't think there is. There may be those who can sing it and hate it, but they can still sing it.